When you're out running every morning, what's going through your mind? I mean, you got a lot of time to think.
Well, basically, Barry McGregor gonna pay for this. 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning out running. Barry McGregor gonna have to pay for it. He got my championship belt.
The uncrowned featherweight champion, Bernard Taylor.
It's been a long time since I did the interview.
What was it like growing up in North Charlotte?
Ah, golly, it's so long ago, and you know, golly, you bring like a whole lot of old memories.
Bernard Taylor was born on June 26, 1957.
He was raised in Charlotte, North Carolina. He is one of 14. He is the youngest son. They were known as the family that if you have an altercation or a fight with one, you gotta fight all the Taylors. You can't just fight one, you gonna fight all of them. And one day he stumbled across a boxing gym and just never left it. That became his passion, that became his life.
My oldest brother, Woody Taylor, he brought me in the gym. He was doing it and I want to do it. I just want to be better than he was. He was good and I want to be better. I want to be the best.
That gym in North Carolina was headed up by former fighter turned trainer Lou Kemp. Unfortunately, 10-year-old Taylor's stature was a bit too small for Kemp's liking.
So he said, wait till next year. Not big enough. So I came back to the gym when I was 11 years old. I started training. I trained for a year or two before I got a fight.
During their time training, Kemp and Taylor formed a powerful bond.
That's my second dad. That's my dad. He was funny. He was a good coach. Yeah. That man taught me everything I know. He taught me how to be humble. He taught me how to be smart. We connect. You know, we like, brother, when you saw Luke, you saw me. When you saw me, you saw Luke. You know, he always had a big old cigar in his mouth, but that long he always chewing on it. And he never lit it, but he always chew on it. I never figured that out.
Once Bernard finally stepped into the ring, he went on an unprecedented unbeaten streak. By 1971, he was 20-0, which landed in the local papers. In his 22nd bout, Taylor won his first championship, the Carolina Silver Gloves in the 95-pound weight class. The following year, with his 49th win in a row, Taylor captured gold in the Junior Olympic boxing competition at 106 pounds. None other than Muhammad Ali presented him the medal. Taylor began his amateur career with 53 straight wins before suffering his first loss to Clinton Anthony, a loss he would avenge just 2 fights later to win the Carolina Golden Gloves boxing tournament. Bernard kept fighting, winning the 1976 National Golden Gloves tournament in the 119-pound division. But his sights were set on that year's Olympic Games.
Bernard was actually #1 in the world in '75. He was runner-up in the Pan American Games that year. Won the United States Championship, beat all these guys. You got to go to the Olympic trials to actually qualify for the Olympics.
If Taylor could conquer the trials, he would be in the company of fighters like Michael and Leon Spinks, John Tate, and Sugar Ray Leonard.
Sugar Ray was my idol. I think he was everybody's in the day. So I hit him up one day. I was like, Bernard, what would have happened if you and Sugar Ray would have fought? And he's like, well, we used to spar all the time at the Olympic camp. I'm like, really? And I was like, what happened? And he was like, well, he said, he couldn't hit me. I'm like, you're crazy, so he was better than Sugar Ray. And he goes, no, I couldn't hit him either.
In the opening round of the trials, however, Taylor was knocked down twice by Wayne Lynham, a fighter that newspapers referred to as unheralded. The knockdowns were more than enough for Lynham to score the decision.
And how decorated Bernard was, even though he got beat in the early rounds in the Olympic trials, they actually went ahead and took him to the box off. They didn't even use the other guys that finished ahead of him because they thought Bernard was the guy. But Charles Mooney actually beat him in that box off, and since he was the Olympic trials champion, he got to automatically go.
He didn't really beat me. I think I sort of let him have the play. I followed him.
Never deterred, Bernard was determined to win gold.
And that was his goal. He wanted to be the best. He wanted to have that Olympic gold medal. He had accomplished everything else he had. He needed that Olympic gold medal. And so he stuck around for 4 more years.
In those 4 years, Taylor traveled the world over and over and racked up win after win, championship after championship. But in March of 1980, he narrowly avoided tragedy.
He was actually supposed to be on a dual meet going to Poland, and something happened. He had a dream, and it told him he didn't need to go on that trip. And he'd been going through a lot with his mom. She had been sick, and he didn't go. So when he woke up that morning, he had heard the news that the crash, and the whole boxing team was killed. And it was pretty devastating on him because he always looked thinking, wow, I was supposed to be on that plane.
In June of 1980, Taylor found himself in familiar territory, the Olympic trials. 4 years older, 4 years wiser, and with 4 more years of experience, Taylor won a decision over Irving Mitchell in the finals, finally earning his spot on the U.S. Olympic team. The victory, though, would be a shallow one.
And I have notified the Olympic Committee that with Soviet invading forces in Afghanistan, neither the American people nor I will support sending an Olympic team to Moscow.
I was going to win the gold medal. I had beat the guy who won the gold medal in 80, and politics took it away, and we didn't come for anything. It definitely hurt, you know.
The news was devastating to Kemp and Taylor.
Kind of crushed you, broke the crutch, you know. It took a lot out of us. You know, it took a lot out of me, it took a lot out of him.
Bernard topped off his career in the amateurs with a listed record of 481 wins and only 8 losses. In August of 1980, Taylor signed his first professional contract. The 5-year, 10-fight deal with Top Rank would net him $25,000 per fight, and guaranteed at least 6 of those bouts would be nationally televised. He would relocate to Knoxville to be trained and managed by Ace Miller.
Lou was probably in his almost late 70s or 80s. And, you know, Father Time catches up with you. So Lou and Ace were friends. And so, Lou brought him to our program, which was thriving.
I just think what a tragedy for a fighter like him. The guys like Sugar Ray Leonard and all those guys who reached fame in the Olympics and then came out and became a pro. And then all of a sudden you're Bernard Taylor, you can't go to the Olympics, but you reach that pinnacle, but you don't get all the press afterwards. And so you have a much harder career path. But I think he did a great job picking Ace to go with, because Ace is a great builder of fighters and so well known in the boxing world.
If you knew Ace Miller, he was amazing. He could tell you that you could get up on this building and jump off and you could fly. 10 minutes later, you'd be up there. So he was really influential on these guys that come in here, and they saw that. And that's why you got all this talent in here.
I think Ace was a hustler, He just had that salesmanship ability, and you knew he was going to work hard to promote and help make those fighters bigger through that same hustling ability.
It was a change of culture. I had to get used to Ace, and Ace had to get used to me. It was a big change. It was good.
He was refined already. He was young, okay, but all the skills were there. He was a masterful boxer.
He worked angles incredibly well, and he pivoted, cut you off quickly. And whenever and then he'd come in, throw combinations. The problem was they were so fast, you didn't realize how much velocity they really had on him, how much power they had on him. He turned on his punches.
From personal experience, I can tell you that he could hit you before you even had a chance to think, so he was pretty darn fast.
It was just like an express trainer. Bernard would be, he hit you 4 or 5 times, you go to hit him, and he's over here somewhere. Reflexes just as fast.
Believe it or not, he told me years ago, a lot of people just think because BT stands for Bernard Taylor Express, there was actually a soul group years ago called the BT Express, and that's where he got his name from.
Personal opinion, Bernard turned pro too late. He was too good, and so a lot of the boxers that were out there in the pro ranks avoided him.
Bernard was an avoided fighter because he was such a good fighter. I mean, when you're a great boxer, when you have the kind of ring movement, guys that are big punchers, they can't catch you and they're worried that they're going to get outboxed, and people were scared to face that kind of fighter.
2 years into his professional career, Bernard Taylor had amassed a professional record of 18 wins and 0 losses. He was ranked 5th in the world by the World Boxing Association, and a shot at the World Featherweight Championship was right around the corner.
When I saw Bernard and through the amateurs, the way he dominated, he come right in the pros the same way. He just come right in there as the BT Express does, just rolling along, and he rode right up to the championship.
Taylor's opponent in his first World Championship fight would be Panamanian Eusebio Pedroza.
Everybody gave him a good shot to win, even though Pedroza at the time was amazingly, that was his 15th title defense. It was in Charlotte, North Carolina, which was his hometown. So there was a little nervousness in there, but Bernard was Bernard. He had done this since he was a kid. It was like a walk in the park to him. He didn't care if it was Pedroza. He didn't care if it was Salvador Sanchez. He was ready. That was his goal. He didn't get the gold medal, but to him, he wanted the next best thing, which was a world championship to him.
And dealing with the Panamanians that represented the other side was like eating rusty barbed wire. They drove us crazy. They wouldn't agree to anything, and then they turn around and agree to it, and then you go to step 2, and we went through the same thing.
The fight had to be postponed for 2 months. Pedroza was injured in a non-title affair leading up to his match with Taylor. It was now scheduled to take place on October 16th, 1982.
The rumors going around that Pedroza was not in the best of shape. Maybe he hadn't worked out enough or whatever it was, but anyway, the Panamanians called one of my guys and said, "We can't fight on this date because you got a cut eye." I don't know if you ever got a cut eye or not. I just don't think he'd started training.
The postponement allowed more time for Ace and Bernard to come up with a plan to foil Pedroza's title defense.
Pedroza was a determined champion, very aggressive. He was a very dirty fighter.
Hard puncher, dirty fighter, hit low a lot.
Champion Pedroza counterpunching with a right hand to the body. Some of them have landed low.
In a previous title defense against Juan Laporte, Pedroza fouled his opponent 59 times in their bout. Those tactics were something Ace and Bernard were ready for.
It doesn't make it any harder for you to prepare for a guy that fouls. It just means that you got to be in a little bit better shape so that you can continue to move out of his way and not make the mistakes the other fighters made and stand in toe-to-toe with him, because that's where he throws most of his low blows, when he's inside.
So he would do anything when he go in that ring to win. He's not going in there to show his sportsmanship. He's going in there to take the title, to hold on to his title, though. What it take to win that title, to come out with the title, he's going to do it.
So Bernard had to work a strategy and it was a great strategy. I don't know if he came up with it or Ace came up with it or they both came up with it.
Bernard and Ace had got in their mind they was going to box Pedroza. They wasn't going to get caught in that slugfest.
Bernard came in there, worked great angles, threw good combinations. His jab was really crisp, if you look. He put on a boxing clinic. Pedroza was chasing him, fumbling all over the ring. Yes, it was very close, but Bernard never really allowed him to hit him flush. Bernard hit him flush. That was one of my favorite fights of his, because just how great of an effort he put into it, and his strategy, and how effective that strategy was.
Fight's over.
Both fighters made it to the final bell, and after 15 rounds, Bernard Taylor's fate was left in the hands of the judges.
Pedroza 146, Taylor 146, it's a draw.
So it ended up in a draw, which is, Frank Howard says, like kissing your sister. I thought it stunk to high heaven.
Eusebio Pedroza will keep his WBA featherweight championship.
If you watch the fight, Bernard really won the fight. If you go back, especially on a point basis, in my mind, he was the uncrowned featherweight champion of the world.
It is what it is. You know, you look at, you split it down the middle. Half of people say he won, half of people say I won. And you kind of leave it. You can't go up, you can't get down, you can't do nothing with it. It is what it is, you know, and that's how I look at it, you know. I think one of my best fights in the world I ever had, and I left it at that.
You put so much work in there, and then there is a letdown, you know, and then can I get back to the top? Can I get that ranking back? You know, you got other fighters in the top 10. And so, you know, then you have to start moving back up again. And it was harder moving back up after that.
Bernard Taylor is a quiet family man. He doesn't drink or smoke. He is devoted to his wife and his family. But he is also devoted to his goal, and that is winning a world title.
I got a goal set for myself, a short time, long time goal. And one of my long time goals is becoming a world featherweight champion of the world in WBA and WBC, and go from there and rewrite the history book in the featherweight position that I can.
He's a very, very sensitive young man, and it took a lot of patience on his behalf, and that has to be the championship quality that's in him. It can't be anything else. To have suffered through the anguish and hostilities that he's been in his own community here, because everyone asking him consistently, and myself, when are you going to get that chance? When are you going to get that chance? And they just don't understand the mathematics of boxing and the applied methods that they run it by. Fortunately now we think that we're sitting right on top of it, and we're not going to get cocky.
Bernard has already had one shot at the championship, and he fought the champ, Eusebio Pedroza, to a draw a couple of months ago. Ace Miller and Taylor, though, both now admit that perhaps Taylor was not quite ready for that fight. He says now, though, it's a different story.
Well, boxing is sort of like a sport. It's one-on-one. You can't blame nothing to nobody else. It's a one-on-one thing. If anything happens, you got to look in the mirror and look at yourself and say it's your fault. So I like it's one-on-one competition. Your age and your weight and height and everything just about even off about right. And so that's gave me the more motivation to stay in boxing, because it's a one-on-one and you get all the glory. You know, you don't have to share that much, but you get all the glory.
It's like he didn't change. It's like, I'm just going to win that championship. That's what I'm made to do. And that's what he did. He set out from that time to do that. So he ended up beating up everybody he could. He would fight anybody, anywhere, any contender, and he couldn't be beat.
Right uppercut by Taylor. Another right uppercut, left hook, and down goes Roosevelt Rico.
First I want to say, Pedroza, I'm coming back. They say I can't punch, they say I can't box. Prove tonight I can do it all.
Left to the head by Taylor. Another left-right combination, and Bernard Taylor is sparkling.
Pedroza doesn't want to fight us. Very disrespectful to Bernard not to fight him, since Bernard was the only guy to ever hold him to a 15-round draw.
12 rounds for the ESPN Featherweight Championship.
Bernard Taylor says, line him up, I'll knock him down, towards another shot at Pedroza and the possible featherweight championship.
Now the ESPN champion, Bernard Taylor.
The BT Express, probably future featherweight champion if he keeps on going.
Do you think you'll be champion soon?
Definitely. Like I said, it's stuff on every day the Super Bowl and the clock is running.
Seems to me like there's a problem with Pedroza. He's afraid to fight us. He's afraid of our style, and he's afraid of Bernard's ability.
The winner by unanimous decision, and still undefeated, Bernard Taylor.
He was beating all these guys, but Pedroza would not give him that chance back. He even traveled to Panama and stayed with Pedroza a whole day trying to get him fighting, but he couldn't get a championship fight.
We'll await Eusebio Pedroza or Barry McGuigan for the title shot.
They fight in June, and the winner has to give this man a title shot.
Tonight it's the WBA World Featherweight title. It's Eusebio Pedroza facing young Barry McGuigan.
Yes, he did. He's going with a right. Oh, the champion's over in this event.
Barry McGuigan
is won it. McGuigan is the champion of the world.
I mean, from 82 to 85, he never got that chance again. And the only reason he did was because it was mandatory.
After his 5-mile run, Bernard Taylor then sits down and does 100 sit-ups while he keeps the tape of Barry McGuigan's fight with Eusebio Pedroza running in the background.
Bernard, how many times have you watched this tape?
Too many times. Not too many times. I got to say at least 1,000 times, maybe more. Every time I look at it, I see something different. Mainly when I'm looking at the film, I look for his strong point. Then I re-look at it again and I look for his weakness. He looked pretty good, but he still got a lot of weakness. He can be hit. But I think his bigger weakness is downstairs to the body. That's the only thing I'm looking at. And that belt around my waist, what I should have had 2 years ago.
What are the things you've got to concentrate to beat this guy?
Well, let me put it this way, to show you what kind of fighter he is. He's like a fighting machine. You plug him up and he's constantly going. Only thing I got to do, I got to fake to the left, fake to the right, and unplug him. It's all over. Good, nice, sweet print.
You're going to see a Bernard Taylor that knows this is it. That's his campaign for this fight. He knows this is probably the end of his career if he doesn't win. If he does win, it's the start of a beautiful financial, everything he ever wanted in his life on this fight.
I like to say right now hello to my wife, my little girl, Keitra. I miss them very much, and I got 3 more weeks to go, and then I'll be back home with my world title.
Barry McGuigan was a phenomenal fighter also, and a big personality. And you know, the Irish have such support for their boxers and for their and he was just a huge name. And that fight was a mega fight, I think. Nobody knew what to expect because again, McGuigan's more of a puncher type personality, and you have the boxer in Bernard, and that was such a big fight.
So he travels to Ireland to get this fight, and we're talking about a hostile country that will do anything. For instance, when they went into the fight, they didn't prepare his food properly over there. There was things like when he weighed in for the championship that morning before the fight, they was on weight up in the room and they was set with the scales downstairs. They said Bernard was over 1 pound overweight. So he actually had to jump rope a whole hour before the fight to sweat off that weight. On top of that, not only that, Bernard had bomb threats against them while they was over there. They was pretty determined to make sure that the championship stayed in Ireland, in other words. Not only Barry, but the whole community.
That's true. Everything you heard about it happened. We had a special plate for me, we had special water for me. It was that tough over there.
The #1 WBA featherweight challenger, Bernard Taylor.
Bernard had told me before he went to the fight that he wanted to be a different fight than the Pedroza fight because they criticized him from dancing so much.
In recent bouts, he has been more flat-footed and has not got on his bicycle as much.
So the first 7 or 8 rounds, he was still going to use his skill, he was going to use his speed, he was going to get ahead on the scorecards. Then he was going to go flat-footed.
I don't think we've seen as much perspiration on a fighter this early as Taylor is carrying into the 2nd round.
Here I was watching this on Wild World Sports and with my friend, and it was like, something's not right. That's not Bernard. And I could see it, because I knew it. When you're in there sparring with him, you see him fighting, you've been with him all these years, you can tell something's not right.
Those combinations hurt whether they're glancing blows or solid.
And then when it happened, it was just, I didn't know what happened. I mean, I was just so confused. I think everybody was. It was very hot. He kept saying it was very hot. And he actually quit in the corner.
Let's see. Ace Miller comes in, the fight is over.
And if you watch the fight, he's very confused. He don't know what's going on, and they stopped the fight. So it wasn't McGuigan, it was Bernard.
Just as we threw it to Jim Lamplick in the ring, and only 4 or 5 feet from Bernard Taylor, he just passed out.
That was not Bernard Taylor. He looked good for about 3 rounds maybe, and then it started fading fast. Because he had heart. That wasn't heart, that was a man nearly at heat stroke. Could have died.
It was hot. It was hot. I was sweating, I was exhausted. Everything was gone. Half of the thing, I don't remember half of the time. I don't even know how I got in the ring, to be honest with you. They say I walk out, I don't even remember that. That's how bad it was.
I know that must have been hard on Bernard and on the team to face that defeat, because it was on such a big platform, and Bernard had been waiting such a long time to get that level of shot again after Pedroza.
They had a big thing down here at the city at the World's Fair site. They actually presented him with this great big old picture. I was right there, and to see that, I still remember it like it was yesterday. He was still in his same frame of mind. This is not it. I'm still going to get that championship. But as I can saw from there, Bernard was not quite the same person after that fight. He was still a great fighter, and he still did incredible things after that. But something on that fight took a toll on Bernard.
A year removed from his defeat, Bernard Taylor would get another shot at a championship, this time for the NABF featherweight title against baby Joe Ruelas.
When he got ready to spar for the North American Boxing Federation title, then I came into the gym one day and Ace just proclaimed, by the way, Bill, you're sparring with Bernard for the next few days while he gets ready for this title. And I remember getting in the ring with him, and I actually hit him a pretty good shot. Next thing you know, I was hit, and I went into a tunnel somehow mentally. I didn't go down, but I just went into a tunnel mentally. And then all of a sudden I came back out of the tunnel, and Bernard was just smiling a great big smile at me, and he's like, you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm okay.
They're bragging about Bernard Taylor looks great. He's chiseled. He's in great shape. He's moving great. And then, bam, he goes down. And I mean hard. He gets up on his toes, moves, gets around, survives the round, dominates that fight. It was a 12-round fight, and I think the 12th round, Ace said something like, keep doing what you're doing, and BT's like, what am I doing? He said, get on your toes, son. just finish out this fight. It's just instinct, total instinct. Greats do that. Everyday normal fighters, we don't do that.
Despite getting rocked early, Taylor came back to defeat Ruelas and claimed the NABF featherweight championship.
As great as Bernard was as a boxer, I think Bernard was greater as a person. In his godly abilities, you could see it in his love, not for the sport, but even the love for his family. He never sacrificed his family for his boxing.
You know, like most kids say, my dad goes to work, the work just looked different. So instead of saying like, oh, my dad's at work, my dad's at the gym. And that was an everyday, sometimes all day thing. To see him as boxer instead of dad, you're like, oh wow, dad is really out here fighting. And then you get mad at the other guy, like, he's hitting my dad, get him. He was a badass. Like, I know he was gonna win, and that used to be like our conversation, like before he would leave. So we would always have like a family dinner, and we would always pray before he went off to a fight. And I would say like, Dad, promise me that you're gonna win. And he was like, I promise I'm gonna win. And I say, promise you're gonna knock him out? I'm gonna knock him out. And then I just didn't have to worry. Dad likes racquetball, which is absurd when you think of a boxer like racquetball, but it was hand-eye coordination, it was strenuous, it was endurance. And after a workout, he would be playing racquetball. Loved it, it was a hobby, but it also served a purpose in his long-term goal.
Yeah, he's good, he's aggressive, he's got a good forehand.
This something is the same thing as training in the gym. You got that one-on-one competition, and also you're getting the louder movement, and you're getting back and forth, and it's a good workout. You see, I'm sweating now. It's just one game. As I was in training, I'd be home in the bed, get ready to get up at 4:30 in the morning to run about 6 or 8 miles. But since I'm not in training, and we're in between our fights right now, it's just a way to keep myself in shape and have a lot of fun.
Bernard loved this Volkswagen. It's what he always wanted. He loved Volkswagens, but he gave it a name. He called it Flossie.
Why did he call it Flossie?
You know, I never asked him, but I just thought it was appropriate. It looked like a Flossie.
In his downtime, Taylor even held boxing classes at the local Court South.
They want this trial just to say, well, I can hit the heavy bag, I can hit the speed bag, I can skip rope, and I got a chance to work with Bernard Taylor, the BT Express, and they found out I'm a very nice guy, but don't climb in the rope with me. It's a whole different ball game.
Well, it's not a matter of hopping in the ring. It's a matter of just learning the skills to learn coordination and timing, and just to work with BT. As he said, he has an abundant wealth of knowledge, and it's a good time, and he shares it with us.
He spent time refereeing and teaching the kids who trained alongside him at the Golden Gloves gym.
He also coached me. I'd throw a jab. I'm a southpaw. I'd throw that jab, and I'd come back a little lazy. He'd say, I'm gonna come over that with a hook if you don't get it back quicker. You know, or you bring that left hand back a little slower, I'm gonna come back with the right hand. You move to your left, I'm gonna walk you right into my right hand. You know, he'd let you know, here's what's gonna come. And then if I didn't do it, if I didn't correct it, he'd bring it. He wouldn't bring it 100%. He'd bring about 60% and let you know, hey, here's where you are. And that's what I liked about BT. He kept you honest in the ring.
Just to have that smile and just to be around him was a joy, and how he tried to reach back out and help kids like me to achieve what he achieved.
John Morgan fights in the featherweight division, but don't let his size deceive you. He's learned from one of the best little men.
He copies a lot of things from Bernard Taylor, especially his footwork, and he'll get in there and work with Bernard a lot on his foot speed.
Taylor even got to help future all-time great Roy Jones Jr. prepare for the 1988 Olympic Games.
Barring injury or a freak accident, Roy Jones will make the Olympic team. He is that good. The two-time national Golden Glove champ is 114-5. Those numbers get him plenty of attention and got him personal coaching this weekend from Knoxville's Bernard Taylor. And Taylor likes what he sees on the outside and the inside.
The reason why Roy Jones is so good, he got a lot of talent. He put a lot of dedication in his training, and he liked to train very hard. And when you find athletes who like to train very hard and take training very easy, and when they perform, they're going to perform very good.
Despite a ninth-round TKO loss to Hector Lopez in April of 1987, Taylor would claim his third professional title in the form of the Tennessee State Junior Lightweight Championship when he decisioned Gary Sandman Stallworth. And on May 17, 1988, he was set to fight Calvin Grove for Grove's newly won International Boxing Federation World Championship.
It's a 15-round fight. Now it comes down to who's the most seasoned in fights, Calvin Grove or Bernard Taylor. And I think you're going to see a Bernard Taylor out there that can do whatever he pleases, if he pleases.
It's the crossroad again. Everybody calls the main crossroad is the crossroad. I've been there a lot of time in my life, and I'm there again. So, third time around the charm, just another fight.
During a sparring session on the Monday before the fight, a left hook hit Taylor near the right temple, perforating his eardrum. It wasn't until the next day when he went for a swim and water rushed into his ear that he realized there was a problem. The pain caused Taylor to shoot out of the water like a torpedo, and the injury caused him to pull out of the fight. Ever the optimist, Taylor was quoted as saying, "There is no way Calvin Grove was going to beat me. It just wasn't my time."
And the current USBA champion, Calvin Silky Smooth Grove.
Taylor and Grove did eventually meet in 1990. By that time, Grove had lost the IBF Featherweight Championship, but held the less lauded USBA Junior Lightweight Championship.
Calvin Grove in the red trunks and Bernard Taylor in the black trunks.
It was important to him because he saw this as his opportunity, because Calvin Grove was priming for another world title. And Bernard saw this as his opportunity to replace him and take that title shot. So he came into that focused. I think he felt like this is my last shot. His training sessions were really good. I'd watch him hit the hand pads, and he was focused. And it taught me a lot about this is how you train to get to the next level.
Final seconds of the 7th round. And Grove is a bloody mess as he heads to the corner.
It was incredible because it was a grueling fight. And Calvin Grove was a really good fighter. I mean, the man was a world champion. He's no slouch. But Bernard had a good pace in that fight. And one of the things I loved about that is the defensive clinic that Bernard put in. Whenever you watch that fight, watch his defense. He literally made Calvin Grove miss with a left hook and looked like a novice, 10-fight novice Golden Gloves fighter.
Calvin says, he says, whoa, counting a minute. He slipped and he could have hurt himself going down.
That's something that stood out to me is his defense. I think he broke him not only physically, but he broke him mentally. By the, I think it was the 11th round he stopped him in.
A sweeping right-handed Grove goes down.
By that 11th round, I think he broke him.
For the new USBA Junior Lightweight Champion, Bernard Taylor.
After winning the USBA Junior Lightweight Championship, Taylor was in talks to fight for the newly created World Boxing Federation Championship in the Netherlands against Regilio Tour. But that fight never materialized.
He was kind of in a stall because it was really hard to get him a fight. I guess he was content and just say, okay, we'll see what happens. If something happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. That's the impression I got.
Due to various injuries, a failed venture under former heavyweight champion Floyd Patterson's promotional company, an amicable split and reconciliation with manager Ace Miller, and eventually switching to a new team entirely, Bernard would fight only 6 times from September 1988 to July 1993. By then, Taylor was still USBA champ and ranked #1 in the world by the IBF. But with so much downtime in between fights, Taylor sought new business ventures.
He started the BT Express Trucking Company. And it was pretty cool because he always told me he was going to start a trucking company. I said, "You're crazy. You don't want to do that." And he said, "I'm going to keep on expressing and going with that like I did in my boxing career." I'm like, right on, Bernard.
My daddy was a truck driver. My dad was in the trucking business. That's what he did. He drove over the road. He drove an 18-wheeler over the road.
And I remember my mom saying, "This gotta be the dumbest thing you come up with. No, why would we do this?" He's like, "Knoxville is up and coming. Like, I promise you, this is a good move. This is the right move." And she's like, "I think you're crazy." It's like, "Just trust me, it's gonna be good."
It doesn't matter what Bernard Taylor's doing. He can deliver the knockout punch. Bernard is the #1 ranked junior lightweight contender in the world.
What you doing driving a truck? You a boxer. You a celebrity. You this and you that, you know. And I say, well, you know, I got to make a living.
He turns 36 years old Saturday. No one wants to fight him because losing to an older fighter can kill a career.
Everybody look at me and say, you can't beat this guy. He got all the style, so let's go around here and find somebody that's much easier to fight.
Forced to wear different gloves during the day, hauling rock to make the payments.
Hey, Spanky, you got your ears on?
Yeah, how you doing?
I'm doing all right, Spanky. My schedule starts at 4:30 in the morning. I get up 4:30 and I run 5 miles. 6:30 I'm in that truck, and I run that truck it's about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. 6:30 I'm at the gym. I was in the gym to 9:30 to 10 o'clock. From 10 o'clock until 11 o'clock I do paperwork, and then I'm in bed about 11 o'clock, 11:30, and be ready for the next morning.
It will pay off. The IBF says the world champion has to fight Bernard before August 22nd. Bernard has finally hit pay dirt.
I've been patient, and thank God for letting me be patient and having another career already started where I can just be patient and wait on my dream to come true.
At 36 years old, Bernard would get one more shot at achieving his dream of becoming a world champion when he challenged IBF super featherweight champion John Molina on Molina's home turf of Puerto Rico.
You know, I enjoy going to the guy's backyard. It's a challenge for me to be an underdog, so I like that better that way because, you know, they say it can't be done. I don't have anything to lose. He have everything to lose, so I enjoy going to his hometown fighting.
I mean, but you've been in this role before. I mean, you've been the underdog a bunch of times, so this is nothing new?
Oh, yeah, it's nothing new. You know, I've been there many times. Like you say, it's a crossroads again, and it's been there, several different times, so, it don't bother me at all. I know what I had to do.
John Molina was a heck of a fighter, and a strong fighter, too. A great champion. He had a title for a very long time, maybe even multiple titles.
De Fajardo y todo Puerto Rico, John Molina.
I trained with him for that fight.
I was his sparring partner for that fight.
He trained just as hard as he always does.
He was training good, he was looking good.
But I could see a little bit of a decline.
He had actually went down a little bit.
Didn't look like the same Bernard.
I could tell it wasn't the same Bernard that was there.
Bernard Taylor in his prime would have manhandled John Molina.
He gave a valiant fight and he did a good job, but it wasn't the Bernard Taylors we knew.
IBF Junior Lightweight Champion of the World, John Molina.
He took a fight a few months later with a guy that fought with me, Taliaferro out of Alabama. He fought in the Southerns with us. Taliaferro is a slick fighter, a very good fighter, good regional fighter, and a good national fighter.
Fighting out of the blue corner.
I gave you instructions in the back and just become an opponent. It's over.
USBA Junior Lightweight Champion.
Not even on the same level with Bernard. And then when Bernard lost that fight, he walked.
I didn't get to see the fight. And, I just heard what happened. And just very disappointed. I knew that Ace had even mentioned to me earlier that he had talked to Bernard about hanging it up. But Bernard still in his mind, just like a lot of fighters does, thinks I'm still that same Superman. I'm still that same person I was earlier. And he was still a great fighter. But, you know, when you're looking at the best in the world and fighting some of these fighters, it's hard to stay on that level.
It was the hardest decision to make because I had done it so long. But my kid was growing. You know, I got a son named Bernard Jr., and I had 2 girls. You know, and you know, it was time for me to step back. I thought I had ran that race.
A lot of people don't realize what boxers go through. I mean, you're looking at somebody like Bernard, for instance, all these amateur fights, sometimes 3 or 4 times a night. Not even mention that, in the gym, 3, 4, 5 nights a week, sparring, you know, 8, 10 rounds a night, hitting these bags. You know, your body takes a toll on that, it really does. Not only physically, but mentally, it really does. Boxing is a hard sport.
Bernard Taylor retired with a professional record of 45 wins, 4 losses, and 2 draws.
Bernard was tight with his money, and you know, he kept every penny that he made, and he was pretty successful. And then he just sort of disappeared, you know, and he just back into his own little life and sort of recluse a lot.
In 1996, Bernard was inducted into the Knoxville Sports Hall of Fame and continued operating his BT Express trucking business.
Probably up until like 3 or 4 years ago. Yep. So he was just doing his thing. And it was an easy job for the most part. It seemed easy. I might be fibbing. It looked easy.
You have honestly one of the most impressive amateur careers of all time.
Yeah.
You had an amazing professional career. How do you want to be remembered in the pages of boxing history?
I don't even think about it. I don't even think about it. I just let well, however you look at it, however you take it, that's how it is.
He's my favorite person in the world. Like, he is everything. So he is honest, courageous. He's very funny. Super funny. His view on life is so different. It's one of his key phrases. Life is simple. We make it hard. But life is really simple. So why are you making it hard?
Bernard's one of the most wonderful, humble, trustworthy. I sound like I'm getting ready to put him up for Eagle Scout. But he's really a good person.
Knoxville is a pretty small community, and you can see the talented fighters in the gym immediately. You recognize and know. And Bernard was certainly one of the most talented boxers Knoxville's ever had.
You know, you had Evander Holyfield that came through here. You know, even Sugar Ray Leonard fought in this town. But Bernard, he's a step ahead of all of them guys. It's something really you can't truly teach. If you got it, you got it, and he had it.
Not because he was my friend, but because I saw him and I saw these other great fighters, Evander Holyfield, Roy Jones Jr., and I was there with him. He was amazing. His footwork, his skill, his speed. I truly believe we had one of the greatest fighters to ever lace up the gloves.
The thing about Bernard Taylor is, I don't think people realize he is an elite. When I say elite, it's not hyperbole, an elite fighter. He was up there with the Sugar Ray Leonards. All of these great performances, all these great clinics, this great exhibition of perfect footwork, angles, hand speed, combinations, getting in and out. If you want to learn boxing, right there's your clinic. That's his legacy. That's what Bernard left to the boxing world.
How many people has won 7 national championships? I mean, if you just get one, it's amazing. But he had 7. And, you know, that's not even counting his Pan American championships, you know, the Olympic trials and things like that, the World Cup. I mean, we're looking at somebody that dominated. It was the best in the world.
You've seen Sugar Ray Robinson, and who hasn't, our great all-time boxer puncher. You're looking at a carbon copy, a young Sugar Ray.
If you look at his portfolio, he already is in the books as one of the greatest amateurs of all time. 481-8 as an amateur. Didn't get his gold medal that was due to him. Drew with Eusebio Pedroza. And you look at that, That's his gold medal. It should be his gold medal. That should be his world title. He's uncrowned. One of the greatest fighters ever to step in the ring, but he was uncrowned.
He is from Knoxville, Tennessee, the man known as the BT Express, Bernard Taylor.
When all was said and done, do you think you did better than your brother?
I think I do. I think I got a little high. I think I got a little inch taller than he did. He does a good thing, but I think I just inch two up.